Alright, howdy folks. Sorry it's been so long. It has been quite a few months here. Not to get into it too much, but essentially I ended up dislocating my collarbone and 3 ribs, followed by having to put down 3 of our pet cats, all of them about 18 years old, for various medical reasons. 2 of them completely unexpectedly, and one of them we kind of knew it was coming up because she had diabetes, and we had been fighting with her diabetes now for close to 7 years, and unfortunately it finally got the best of her. So it's been a bit of a rough few months. Hopefully the new year brings some, better times, because it's been rough. I will say we've got a few cool little projects to work on. One of them, and I'm going to switch cameras so you can see here. We've got these IICI boards that Craig bought off of IICI a while back. This one unfortunately did nothing other than a white screen when we booted it up for the first time after recapping. So we made kind of the decision to go ahead, and thanks to our friend Will from KMAC Vintage, buy some of these IICI reloaded boards. Now this is a little bit more complicated than the SE30 boards that I've been building up, but should be a fun project. We've got 3 of these in total. 2 of the other systems did sort of work. They booted up-ish, but with errors and things like black screen background instead of gray screen, and all kinds of little things. Ultimately, the decision was, it's probably just better to spend the time building up these than it is to try and diagnose what's going on with those boards, and people will end up with better boards in the end anyway, since these are brand new. What else do we have planned? Craig has some streams planned. He's going to be building out his Super SE30 here at some point. If you haven't already, there is a new video up that goes over the Color Classic conversion to LCD. So that one we spent a bit of time on and learned a few lessons. I think next videos will be even better once we start getting into the flow here. But I really like that kit. If it wasn't clear at the very end, I really enjoy that now means I can use reliably my Color Classic as a 575 board inside my Color Classic without worrying about overheating or weird issues with the power supply not being quite right, or the screen randomly changing colors because the analog board has something yet more wrong with it that needs to be repaired. I think it's a great kit. Yes, it is on the more expensive side, but I think it's worth it ultimately if you want a nice, stable system. Hopefully we're going to be spending some more time talking with the creators about that. I would like to see if we can get a tacky board next. So get one of their tacky kits and set that up, but we're working with them to see if we can make that happen. If we do, we will definitely do another video, and we will do a comparison between the two. So hopefully look forward to that in the future, but for today we're going to focus on building out this IICI reloaded board and see what we can do with it. So that said, let's switch over. I think it's this one. Yep. Let's get the old board here and start pulling off some chips. I'm going to try this a little different. The overhead cam seems to be working today, so I'm going to try and focus on using that. And we're just going to start pulling some chips and moving them over. Let's start with the 68030 processor, I think. Since that one has little tiny annoying pins, might as well start with it. I don't know how much my head is going to be in the way for doing this, but we'll see. A bit more air. Okay, you can see. I was hoping to get a remote so that I would be able to zoom in with this camera. Unfortunately, it seems like if I use the remote, then DroidCam stops working. and vice versa, so we're just kind of stuck with this view for now. It is too bad they use surface mount SE30 chips on this. It would have been nice to have through hole, to be honest. Or better yet, a through hole in a socket. But, you know, oh well. This is what we got, so this is what we use. Probably just wasn't feasible given the number of layers for this board. And yet, I'm probably going to be removing these one by one because I'm not familiar with the IICI boards very well. So, knowing where the chips go and everything is a little bit beyond me at this point. Here's a question. Where's pin 1 on this? I assume that's pin 1. That's the dot. Okay. Which, if we look at the new board, has a much, much smaller dot, which I assume is pin 1. Let's get the microscope here. Now, I did change my microscope stand, mostly because the old one was falling apart on me, which was not really any fun trying to deal with that. Do we have this? Oh, okay, that doesn't show much, does it? I could try and move this. Still doesn't show much, and it's out of focus. Yay. Let's just go back to the other one then. Okay. So, where are we relative to this thing? There it is. There's pin 1. Now the 030 here is not my favorite to resolder because these are some small legs that are very delicate. So drag soldering does not tend to go well for me, but we'll see if we can do a little bit better with this one. First and foremost, let's see if we can get it lined up. I might end up having to flip this microscope the other way around. I currently have it facing down, and I'll show you what I mean here. So this is the, if I can get it in focus. This is the new microscope stand. The old one was a big black unit that attached to the desk and then kind of was an arm that you can move around. The new one has a base and slides back and forth rather than move up and down. So we'll see how it works out. I will say the build quality seems to be substantially better. It's actually made of metal instead of tin and plastics that like to explode when you try and tighten them. All right, that for the most part looks pretty lined up. And of course it moved as soon as I turned the board. Fantastic. At least we have some fairly decent sized pads here, so it should be possible to get this to line up. Yeah, I think so. No. try there. Get some flux here. We'll get a newer flux. The old one does not like to flow. Of course. This is going to be one of those chips. I will have to again give a huge shout out to Will from KMac Vintage. These boards are really excellent, and he gave us a good deal on them. Better, frankly, than if I had to go and order it myself. Because, for whatever reason, if you live in Canada now, you have to be completely hosed on costs for everything, including, but not limited to, shipping. And from what I understand, it's only going to get worse. So, you know. Enjoy what we have now, I guess. Try not to get too political on here, but I'm getting a little bit fed up with the current state of things in the country, that is for sure. Okay. Boy, some of these legs pretty darn close to the other pad. See, these all look fine. This side doesn't look too bad. Then you go over here. It's not terrible, I guess. At the bottom here. See, that's where it's not great. It starts off fine. And then it just shifts slightly as you go further to the right. So I'll have to be careful with these. Try and do them first. And you know what? I'm going to crank down my temperature just a little bit. Mostly just because these small pads have a tendency to explode if you have too much heat. At least that has been my experience. Excellent. Nice big blob. Okay, we'll clean that up. Now, how am I going to do this? Just like that. Oh, you can't see. How come? Now you can see. And change the focus a little bit. There we go. All right. You know what? As one person put it. Get those troublesome ones here first. Okay. almost feel like I gotta put pressure down on these so that they actually, yeah, see? Then it goes blobby. So I'll hit it with a ton of flux next, and I don't really want to drag solder, but I do want to spread the solder I have around, so let's see. Definitely starting with the most difficult chip. I hope I can do this successfully. I've never actually been that great with these particular style. Again, because they are so easy to have problems with. They're too fine for me anyway. So that's solder off. Hit it with some more flux. Progress slowly. Not going to be fun to recheck this work. That's for sure. But necessary evil. Oh, I guess I should have my air on. You know, a breathing thing we tend to do. Do apologize for the sound. If I can figure out how to turn on the noise canceling, I will. I just don't want to blow away these pads. It's my big concern. Let's grab a little bit of that desolder and remove this chunker. Okay. Now I'll try what Will has told me. Grab this, pull your station out over the edge, and then look down at an angle so you can see how things look from here. It's actually not too bad. Yeah, I might want to zoom in a little. Definitely need to clean that flux off, but I don't see any joins. And I don't see any utterly destroyed pads, so we'll call that side a win. Alright. Pull that back into view. Try the next one. I'll be using a ton of flux here because I'm just not very confident with these pins. I think there's only one other chip that has pins this fine, so hopefully it's not as much of a challenge. Does not have to stay down. How come? Well, you are now. Sorry. More flux. Pan. Boy, that just wants to keep on clinging. There we go. Okay. Over. And too much again. We have this too much to deal with too. Now we have too much on two sides. Yay. See if we can't at least move the problem to one side and hit it with the deep braiding. Uh-oh. That's exactly what I was afraid of. Pins starting to move. Okay, you stay there, bud. You stay there. Pardon me for a moment. Gotta sneeze here. Okay. Let's take a look at this side. I might actually try and clean some of this flux off so we might actually see some things a little bit clearer. Oh yeah, I see a bridge already. Okay. Let's see if I can bring it up in view here. It is right there, you can see that little dot? That's a bridge. Right there. Let's try and fix that. There we go. Okay. Now, we'll do this again. Forward. Crotch shot, sorry. Okay, this is the new side. That's looking way better. Is that a bridge? Or just shininess? I think just shininess. It's hard to keep this in focus for you guys. It's easy to see it on the microscope. Yeah, that side's good. Let me check on the first side. Oh, that's not the first side. That's the side to be done. There it is. That looks good. That looks very flexy. Careful with the brush, because even the brush could bend these legs. They're so fragile. That looks better. Okay, that's two sides down. Next side. That's gonna be him. You have more patience than I do. What would you say you like more? Do you like the act of rebuilding the system or actually using the finished product? You know, I will say this. It is strangely relaxing to actually do the process of building up the system. But it is most gratifying when you actually get to turn it on and it boots up properly for the first time. So I like the actual act, but it is definitely the most satisfying when you see it come to life. And yeah, there is definitely a lot of patience with these. Especially when you're trying a new board for the first time. This is the first time I'm trying out doing the IICI reloaded board. I've done SE30s, I've done 9 boards at this point for SE30 that have all fortunately worked. Again, Will from KMAC was really instrumental with a couple of those, helping me figure out what was going wrong with a couple. So I appreciated his help for those. And then this will be my first time with the IICI board. Hopefully it works out. We've got 3 of these to build, so I'll get lots of practice in at least. I will say that. Flux. Something I did learn from Will. Just add more flux. Flux is the key. So many times it's just the answer to get something that isn't working to work. Something that isn't flowing to flow. Just a little bit of flux. No, too much again. Should almost be using my thinner solder here. Might switch to that for the next one, see if it does a better job. Interesting. Somehow I ended up with 2 chat windows. Not sure how that happened. Streaming, what can you say? Sometimes it just does weird stuff. Flux. I know Will's got these down to an art. He can get through one of these boards a lot quicker than I suspect I will. End up with a bridge again. So I have just a little too much solder on there. See if I can't clear that up. There we go. Alright. Check this side. Clean first. Try a Q-tip here. Maybe I'll get more of the flux up. All right. Bring this off the edge again. Doesn't look too bad. Bunch of flux reflection over here. Oh, that's looking pretty good. Actually found an SE and an SE30 outside during trash pickup. I rescued them but haven't done anything with them. I think watching you do this is certainly making me consider working on them. You know, honestly, absolutely. Take them apart, see what's going on. Battery damage, you can get a reloaded board if it's bad enough. I was actually able to get one board working with battery damage just by replacing some of the traces that had been eaten away. I ultimately decided to reload that board anyway, even though it was working, because I liked the fact that that option was available. I certainly did not have any soldering experience before I started with this. I think it was watching people like Mac84, Will from KMac Vintage, Bruce from Brankus Creations, watching them do it. I was like, you know, why don't I just give it a try? They were definitely inspirational for why I decided to start working on this stuff. Then of course you got the big names like Adrian from Adrian's Digital Basement, who I aspire to be that capable at some point in the future, but definitely a far cry from that now. I can move things around. He can actually understand what's going on, which is huge in my book. Yep, I see you. Yep. Flux. Yeah, I admire all the work that Adrian has definitely put into things, and Will too. I mean, he's starting to build things out. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. Yeah. So Will sent me over a bunch of these, which are instrumental for being able to do these boards. This is an ATX to 2CI power adapter in this case. You can switch it between soft power and always on for your testing purposes. And he sent over a bunch more ATX adapters plus especially for the SEs and SE30s, this little adapter board that lets you get video out without having to be inside the actual original chassis. So again, great for working on projects. We had to pay for them, but he gave us a great deal. And some of them he actually threw in for free too, which was amazing. But yeah, having those and doing this work makes a huge difference. Because you're not working with, especially if you don't have multiples of these systems, you're not working with a 40-year-old power supply that you don't know if it's going to continue to function or not. If it doesn't, well, then you're going to have to recap that before you can even start working on the board. And hope it works. Hope that, transformers haven't died or regulators haven't stopped working or what have you. And when you're just learning this stuff, it's just one more headache you want to avoid. Because it just adds more variables to something that's already, pretty complicated. Not as complicated as most of the modern stuff, for sure, but still pretty darn complicated. I will say too, I have really enjoyed that Color Classic conversion kit that we got, because I finally feel like I can really use that computer. When I just had the original analog board in there in the CRT, I always just didn't feel comfortable using it for long periods of time. Partially because of videos from like JDW going over how hot those components get. Like, it's ridiculous how intensely hot some of them get. But partially too because even with a nice clean, freshly recapped board, I always felt like there's just some component that was half ready to die on that thing from the previous years of exposure it's had to heat. Even my own board, which was in pretty decent shape for that 275, every once in a while you just get this strange color flicker on the video. And you go, what the heck is that about? What component is causing me now to have just random color changes on screen? Alright, that looks pretty decent. I think we managed to do that without destroying any paths, so that's good. I don't see any bridging. Definitely a lot of flux. Big thing I'd say for those machines you found outside is open them up and see what the carnage is inside. If you got lucky, they didn't get exposed to a lot of the elements, so there won't be a lot of rust. I would still probably test the power supply without hooking it up to the SE30 at least, simply because they're harder to come by, more expensive when you do. All right, we have an we have a 68,030-25 on the board. Let's grab another component. And just look for, the usual stuff. Bulging capacitors on the analog board. I would probably open up the power supply too and look in there. Make sure there's no rust or weirdness going on. Well, And yeah, just work your way through it piece by piece. Okay, we got two more that are similar number of pins and very fine. Might as well do them up. No point in avoiding them. Start with UK11. I'm going to switch back so you can see it a little better. Mobile. Which of course has gone to sleep. That's awesome. Why did you go to sleep, buddy? I've changed your timeout I don't know how many times and you still time out on me. It's very frustrating. Okay. I think what I'm going to need to do, whether I like it or not, I'm just going to have to keep it on the view that has the mobile overhead cam in focus all the time so it doesn't go to sleep. Like that. Just always keep it going. Alright. This out of the way. This into view. We're going to want that chip this way. Okay. Alright. Tweezers. Let's get this big one off. Think of it. Just gonna add a little chunk of metal, keep the heat away from that oscillator because those oscillators seem to be very heat sensitive. And I'm going to want to try and reuse that since I don't know if I have any others in stock. Takes a while for these big chips to heat up. I've been watching some of the electronic repair folks like Joe Does Tech, and I'm amazed at how fast they can solder these chips on boards. Maybe it's a bit of editing magic, who knows. Honestly, the more you do it, the faster you get. Especially when you're working with the same board over and over. I'm a lot faster now at an SE30 board than I was when I started, that's for sure. It is impressive how fast people, like Will can do an SE30 so much faster than I can, but he's done, I don't know, hundreds at this point. I might have to turn up the heat. I'm wondering if I'm on a ground plane here. It's definitely not come off yet. Not even budging. Let's try 450. There we go. Starting. There. Okay. That big one's off. Let's move this board back to the other one. So that is UK 11, which is right here. Switch over to the other camera, overhead, width. There we go. Now this is going to be in the way, of course, but apparently I need to run this other camera all the time, otherwise it just stops working. Now, where's pin 1 on you? You have a dot, and you have a dot. Okay. It's going to be hot. Oof, that's very zoomed in. Zoomed out? Not much, but a little. Let's see. I don't think I've watched Joe Does Tech. I'll have to check that out. I'm always looking for new people. My go-tos have been Mac 84, Bruce from Brankus Creations, Will from KMac Vintage, Epitronic. Epitronic's got some good PC stuff. And then, who else? If you got any Commodore interest, Chris Edwards has a lot of really good Commodore repair tips. Watch him quite a bit. He's a little more interesting, shall we say, so I don't necessarily watch him at work, but I will certainly watch on the weekends or at home after work. Okay, hang on, I got an idea. Let's get some on a pad. That, and then we're going to slide this in and line it up from there. These pads could be a little bit bigger, in my opinion, but that's me. Okay, that looks decent. Check the other sides. That's a little bit off. Can we move you? Yes. That looks decent. That looks decent. That looks decent. Okay, let's get another anchor point going here. Move that over there. Another anchor. Is there anyone else I watch? I'm sure I do. I've got quite a list. It's been interesting seeing Action Retro start going into more of the actual repair side of things. Oops. Stay where. I just want to anchor your friend here. Thank you. There. Okay, that looks better. Check this side. That side looks really good. And this side, it looks pretty good actually. It's not bad at all. Okay, get some flux going. And very, very, very slowly work my way through this chip. This gigantic low pitch chip. That'll be fun. Be fun when it's done. It's hard to figure out just how much solder. Well, I keep saying I'm going to switch to this thinner stuff and see if that makes a difference. And I keep not doing that. I'll try that now. That's why I continue to repeat the same mistake. Test all of this. It may look good on the scope, but I want to actually get in here with the pick and make sure I've actually connected all of these. Especially since this is the first time I'm trying this, I want to take the extra time. And you got a little extra solder on you, bud. No, you have to go on the pad. Thank you. No, that's a bridge. No, that's still a bridge. And more flux. Ah, I should have wiped that off. Okay. Didn't realize I had extra on there. There you go. Way better. Thank you. Okay. Let's examine that. Watch a lot of the same creators, some I hadn't heard of. You might also watch Tronic's Fix. He seems to be very good to overall repair. Okay. I'll have to be sure to jot this down before I end the stream here. I'm always looking for more stuff. Because the nice thing is, you know, people can't be constantly streaming all the time, so it's nice to find people that you can switch to and see if they're streaming today or if it's another person. Do something new. Plus, they all have different little techniques, and sometimes you can pick up some good stuff. That's looking pretty good. Don't see any bridging here. So that's good. Okay, next side. Let's not do that side yet. Let's do the opposite side from where we were. Yeah, let's do this one. View. Nope. Fucks the crap out of it. Techniques are worth learning. Yep. I'll give it a check then, because I'm always up for learning something new. I'm sure I have plenty I can learn. I'm sure also I make certain people that have been doing this longer grimace when they see certain things I do. But, you know, we all start somewhere. Much as I enjoy my Macs, I enjoy my Commodore a little bit more, which is why I always kind of just use the Macs to practice on, if I'm being honest, before I try anything on my Commodores. And it's not, you know, that I love them that much more. It's Commodores are way more bloody expensive now. Probably because there's so few of them compared to the Macs. So if I bork a $100 Mac, while I'm trying to learn something, I'll feel bad, but I'll feel a lot better about doing it to that than borking a $1,000 Commodore. $1,000 plus sometimes these days. Insane how high the prices have gone. I used to actually, a few years back, be able to get a complete Amiga 500 with monitor, mouse, printer, whole shebang for $100. I met a guy through work. That's all he wanted, like 100, maybe 150. It was not much. That same system today, probably close to $900 in Canada, which is absolutely mind-boggling. Because it doesn't even feel like it was that long ago that I bought that off him. But I'm sure it was about 8 or 9 years. Alright, check this side. I might need to clean this. It's pretty gunky. They're all on though. So we'll get that better focused for you. It's right there. That's not bad. Don't see any bridging. Okay, next side. Yep, this side. I grew up with Commodore, had a VIC-20, a C16, a 128, and my father bought a +4. Never had an Amiga though. So we started off, my grandfather worked on the military base, so my mom had him pick up a VIC-20 for my dad for his birthday. And of course, right after he bought that for him, the Commodore 64 came out. So Dad ended up going from the VIC-20 to the Commodore 64. And I started really young. I got photos of me sitting with my dad on the Commodore 64. And then we didn't upgrade for a long while, and then all of a sudden he decided he wanted an Amiga, so he got an Amiga 1000, which was bloody expensive. And then he upgraded that to the Amiga 2000 sometime later. And unfortunately, that's kind of where we stopped. Dad kept using that 2000 well into, I want to say 95? And I'm not talking about an upgraded one. I'm talking just stock. I think the most he did was add a hard drive and an 8 meg fast mem expansion. And it just kept chugging along until he finally retired it and bought a Pentium 2, I think. Which I also thought it was a shame we didn't upgrade that Amiga, because it could have been a lot faster. I think at one point he even had a chance to trade in for an Amiga 3000. For some reason he didn't. I don't recall why. Okay, so that's that side. Take a look. And then it wasn't until years later when I was out on my own, I decided to start picking up my own Commodore stuff. So I found an Amiga 1000 in box on, what was that called? It was like a buy and trade paper, local paper. Guy was advertising. I think I paid all of like 50, maybe $100, and got a boxed Amiga 1000 in beautiful condition. And then I picked up, gosh, what else did I end up picking up? A 128 from one of my sister's boyfriends. His parents had it in the basement, or in the attic or garage or something. They weren't using it, so I got that. I grabbed a 128D off of eBay because it was a ridiculously low price. This is back when eBay actually had good deals. And the shipping wasn't torturous. And then, yeah, I got... my dad left his Commodore stuff all in the basement, so when I finally had the place of my own that had some space, I asked him if I could take it, and he said, sure, why not? So I took the VIC-20, the Commodore 64, and the Amiga 2000. Next thing you know, I've got a wall of Commodores. More recently, I added the Plus 4 to my collection. Not because I have any nostalgia for it, but it's a Commodore, and for a Commodore computer, the price wasn't terrible. Certainly better than trying to find like an Amiga 4000. Good luck with that. Or one of the unicorn machines like a 4000 Tower or a 3000 Tower. Again, good luck. Had I known the prices were going to go so insane, I definitely would have spent more on eBay back when it was feasible. But yeah, I loved the Commodore 64 growing up. We used that all the time, well into the 90s. And then the Amiga 2000, like I said, Dad was still using it. Heck, he was still trying to even get it online with a 68,000 processor, which was, I think, kind of hopeful at best in the mid-90s. I think he tried getting a modem for it, but couldn't actually get it to work, so I ended up with the Pentium 2 instead. And yeah, I'm really glad I managed to clean up the batteries from those Amiga 2. My dad had two 2000s at one point. I forget where he got the second one, but somehow he ended up with two. So I cleaned up the batteries on both and sold one off. Rev 4 versus the Rev 6. I've got the Rev 6 still today. I didn't need another 4. Although I guess I could have kept it for the chips, because the chips are ridiculous these days. Yep. Okay. I think we got that. Let's check it out. Can't really go wrong with owning them today. If you have the room, they will go up in value. I gave mine away decades ago. Wish I still had them. Yeah. I got very, very lucky that my dad kept all those computers. They were all sitting in the basement, monitors and all. I'm very thankful for that, because replacing those these days would be very costly. It's a good thing I started my Commodore collection a long time ago, otherwise I would never have been able to afford it. I spent a lot, quote unquote, on my 3000, and now they're probably twice as much as what I paid. One of these days I'll have to do another video showing a walkthrough of my wall o' Commodores and wall o' Macintosh. That looks good. I think that one is on. So let's grab the next chip. Because yeah, I spend a lot of time setting that stuff up. In theory, I could turn them all on at once, but in practice, yeah, Probably just better to, not do that. I try and keep these machines maintained, but honestly, they're just like old cars. If you don't run them every once in a while, or even when you do, something's going to just stop working out of the blue. Let's switch this here. There we go. And this chip is here. Let's get that into center if we can. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know if we're going to continue to see the prices go up on these, though. Because there's only certain people that are still interested in this stuff. The newer generation, I don't know that they have the same interest in the actual hardware that we do. Because they got emulation. And to be fair, emulation today is pretty decent. I just helped my friend Will set up an Amiga emulator on his Windows machine. I downloaded that AGS, Amiga Game Selector, and we ran it, we installed it. He's got a full working workbench, and he can play games now. I thought, wow, this is so easy compared to what it was, 15 years ago. Took no time at all. And the experience is pretty good. When I first tried WinUAE, I remember it couldn't even get the music in Lemmings right. It was missing notes, it was misplaying things, it just sounded terrible. And now, I'd be hard pressed to tell the difference. If you hooked it up to a CRT, it might convince me it actually is running on an Amiga. Let's go solid. I'll be happy when we're done with these fine pitch components. They make me nervous. Of course, there are even worse ones than these. No, still not quite there. Not certain. Has to re-solidify quick with this guy. There we go. Okay. Alright. Another chip. That is UE9. UE9, which if I look is up here. So if I have to face the same way, that would be this way. What's your feeling regarding augmenting them with newer parts? Things like modern power supplies, SD card-based storage work well but aren't looked upon fondly by purists. Honestly, for me, the big thing is preservation. What's it going to take to preserve these things? If you're going to have to use an SD card to continue to be able to use these, then I'm fine with that. Because those hard drives, as nostalgic as we are for all the, let's call it, wonderful noises they make, they're all starting to fail. And getting those hard drives to continue to function, I think, is a losing battle. Alright, we got the dot. Let's switch to the other camera here. There we go. So I'm fine with it. Modern power supplies are way more efficient. They are cooler running. They're better about the efficiency. That color classic conversion I did to LCD. You know, Craig even said he saw some comments on Reddit or somewhere saying that it was a shame that we took the CRT out and all this. I'm going, well, the fact of the matter is, we've got multiple machines. We'll keep some of them, you know, pure as best we can and running as best we can, but this is now the machine I'm going to use when I want to play a game. Or when I want to just fool around and do a little programming or do something with it. And the reason is I can now rely on it. Because the power supply is modern. It's, you know, 650 watts, which is way overkill for a Color Classic, which means, frankly, the fan doesn't even run on the thing because it's running so efficiently. I would rather do that and have a system I can really use, because I can always reverse it. That's the other thing for me, is if you can reverse it and put it back to the way it originally was, then no harm, no foul. Right? If you gotta do something and it's going to make it impossible to revert back, I'd be a little more hesitant. Because I like to try and keep things close to their original state. But, you know, close to their original state with a new memory card for an Amiga 3000 that actually, you know, doesn't use those fiddly little chips that all the legs are always going to bend on you and break. I'm okay with that. There are lots of improvements that people have made, and they're, you know, amazing what they've come up with, frankly. As long as I can use it and revert back if I want to, I see absolutely no harm in it. Ooh, that leg is looking a little bent. Is it? Or is it just my angle? Let's change the angle and see. Yeah, that's definitely off. Okay. Yeah, this leg right here. Oof. Don't like even touching it because they're so fragile. Okay, that's probably the most I'm gonna do. Others look like they're in place. Okay, let's solder this guy down. You know, people probably don't like that I made that 275 into it, Mystic as well. But I'm like, well, I can easily put it back. It's just swapping out the board. And I have the board, it's intact. So there's no reason not for me to do it. I get a better performing machine that runs cooler with the LCD kit that I'm more likely to actually use now. Because I don't feel like it's going to start my house on fire. And if I decide that we're going to get one of those tacky kits, you know, again, what's the harm? The only thing I want, we're going to try and work with one of Craig's friends on the tacky modification and see if he can't recreate the internal plastic chassis. And instead of, you know, modifying the chassis, which on a tacky is quite destructive, we're going to see if we can model it in such a way that we could drop the harness in from an SE, or not SE, what's it called? A Macintosh 630 CD, because we have a few of those lying around. And just drop it in without making any modifications to it. It'll just be built that way from the 3D file that we use for the printing. And I think that's, you know, a perfectly legitimate thing to do. Because ultimately we can turn it back. If we really want the original experience again, we can do that. But if we want to experience something a little bit, you know, unique, which was, to be fair, something people did in the day anyway, converted to a tacky, why shouldn't we do that? We'll try and make it less destructive than the original way, but I think it'd be a very cool thing to do. After using CRTs for most of my life, I can tell you that I strongly prefer the modern LCD or even OLED displays. It gets harder for me to see every year, so these screens just make it easier for me. You know, there's that to be said too for the LCD conversions. My wife gets migraines, so she has a hard time, frankly, with the old CRTs. They seem to trigger it. So she can't really play games with me on the old hardware. We end up always having to switch over to a modern LCD. So there's benefits to it. And let's be fair. Much as I love my CRTs, and they're a fantastic way to have the original experience, they're a consumable product. I mean, they're essentially a giant light bulb, and light bulbs break eventually. So I'd rather preserve them, use them sparingly. It's still nice to use them, but use them sparingly, and, you know, have them there when you want them, but use an LCD whenever you can. That way the CRTs preserve that much longer. And you can still experience it without the headaches. Like for the streams here, LCDs are the way to go because they're so much easier for me to shoot on camera compared to a CRT. CRT, most of my devices can't sync. Should I be buying more expensive devices? No, this is a hobby. I'm not spending that kind of money on a camera that can actually do the syncing I need. Those are like more than $1,000, and I'm not spending that on a hobby I use equipment on every once in a while. But these little OBS bot cameras I have can at least shoot the LCDs without too much problem. So whenever I can, I like to use the LCD. At least for streaming. Alright, that's looking pretty good. And you're right, you know, we're all getting older. My eyes certainly aren't getting any better. They're definitely getting worse. So why not use LCD? Put it up on my 27-inch LCD monitor versus my Amiga's 14-inch display, you know? Alright, so we got two sides down. Let's do this one. I don't get into the purist stuff too much. My thing is, as long as I can reverse it, what is the harm? I guess is what I should end on here, because I'm probably rambling at this point. Alright, let's get this back in view. Oof. Okay. See if we can't get this glob to move without breaking any pads, please. Oh, you're really being stubborn. Okay, well, I might change my Uh-huh. Okay. Now we got on both sides. Glob here, glob there. Great. Fantastic. Let's see if we can get him to move. That side moved. So that's good. See if we can't get these pins to move the glob over. I want to say this is the last fine pin. I hope it is. It's a lot more fun doing the other ones. These are a little bit more nerve-wracking. Okay, let's remove the glob on this one, so it's just not moving. There we go. So, not to copy Bruce too much, but I've been watching a new series here, Fallout on Amazon Prime, based on the game series. I never actually did play the games all the way through. I might have played one or two here and there. But I will say I've very much been enjoying the series. How much attention they've been paying to the details. Because even as a novice player, I can see all the little details they've added in here from the games. I'm just caught up on finally on episode, or finally finished, I should say, episode 3 from season 2. And it's so weird going back to releases per week. I've gotten so used to the binge mentality from Netflix. It's just so strange to have to wait. Also kind of annoying because I watched it here while I was on my time off during Christmas time here. And now I'm going to have to wait and be back at work before I can see the rest of the series. It's probably a good thing, if I'm honest. That binge mentality we have, I think, is also making us a little... What's the word I'm looking for here? Impatient when it comes to consuming content. You want instant gratification for everything now. So having to wait is a good lesson that not everything can be instant. Alright, let's check that under the scope. It's looking pretty good. Focus. Need to get rid of some of the flux because it's having a hard time focusing. It makes it also look like there are bridges, but I don't think there are. I think that's just reflection. That's better. Yeah, kind of. I need to get rid of a bit more flux. Oh, there is a bridge. Oh, look at that. Okay, let's go fix that. I did not even see you until I removed all the flux. Check it again. That's better. Yeah. Okay. Have I not done that side? I could have sworn I did. Have I only done 2 sides? Holy moly. Okay. Well, I guess I better do the next one. I, for some reason, thought I had done 3 sides, but apparently not. Just to show you how big this chip is. Oh, hey Craig. Been a pleasure. Have to depart now. Good luck with that build. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining in. It's been an hour and a half already. Oh boy. This is going to be a slow build. Slow build for me. That's okay. Probably going to take a few. Oh! In case anyone is wondering, before going away for so long, I had been working on a Macintosh Classic logic board, a reloaded board, that had, once I'd rebuilt it, 2 issues. The sound was not working, and the SCSI would not boot. I have managed, and I will have to look up what I did again. I have managed to get the sound to work. That was actually a fault on the MacFX Reloaded board. They had the wrong value capacitor on the underside. So when I swapped that up, or it's either the wrong value or is missing, one of the two. And when I swapped that from the old board over, sound worked. But no matter what I seem to do, I cannot for the life of me get the SCSI working. Now I have checked. The actual SCSI chip is functional. I took it off and put it onto a different board and it worked. The RTC is functional. I took that off, put it on another board, it worked. I've not tried anything beyond that. I think I might actually have to use this as a good opportunity to practice the oscilloscope time, and we'll have to go through some. I think Adrian Black encountered this problem once. I'll have to go back in his video and see what he was looking at to see what on the oscilloscope will give me a clue as to what component is failing. I kind of, you know, and it's just a feeling, but I feel like it might be another fault on the MacFX board itself and not with the actual chips that were put on. Because so far, every chip that I thought, well, I'll just try swapping that component over to another known working Mac Classic board, they've all worked on that Classic board. Every one of them. So I know those chips are good. Now there are more chips I could try, but I just have this sneaking suspicion it's going to end up being a problem on the underside of that Mac FX Reloaded board. Now I did message them about the sound issue. Said, hey, because Will actually was the one, if I recall correctly, that suggested I look on that underside. Because he said some of the earlier revisions of that board, they had the wrong value being placed on there for the pick and pull. And he was right, because it was the same issue. When I messaged MacFX about it, they kind of just went, oh, we'll tell the creator. Okay, but what are you going to do about all the boards you have produced? Are you going to do anything about them? Are you going to put the right value on? So no clear answer on that. But if you do get yourself a Classic Reloaded board from MacFX, just be aware you might have some sound issues. And if I can, I'll try and look up what I did to fix it again. Yes, Craig, the power is back on. The power has been very inconsistent in my neck of the woods here for the last few days. We have had a lot of ice buildup, which might be a contributing factor. I'm sure the lines are getting caked in ice. But even before winter, we would started seeing some strange power outage issues. So I'm wondering if actually it's more related to bad components that need to be addressed. And it has me seriously considering to purchase a whole home backup natural gas generator that'll just kick in anytime the power goes out. I'm going to have to do some research on that and talk to a few people. But I am tired of the power going out, especially when it's minus 15, 16 degrees outside. And your furnace has no choice but to sit there because it has no way of turning on. Okay. This is definitely going to be a multi-day build. So I'm taking this pretty slow, especially these chips here because the pitch is very close together for these components, for these legs I should say. And I'm very concerned about accidentally having the heat too high and burning off one of the pads or bending one of these legs without even realizing it. It's very easy to do when you're dealing with these small pads. Almost there. Almost have this one done. Not quite, but getting there. There we go. Okay, let's clean that off and take a look at this one. I think that's it for the really fine pitch stuff. And we can work around and start on the others. That's interesting. RP4 has two different sizes on this board. I'm guessing original versus what's available today. Oh yeah, and actually, Craig, that's a good point. We still have a number of systems that we've been rebuilding here that will be going on sale. We will sell internationally, but be aware that if you're in the United States, we've seen that price go up dramatically because a lot of these components or computer systems were not built in USA. They're built in Singapore or Taiwan or Ireland or what have you. So they seem to like to slap a tariff on them when they go across the border. We have no control over that. If we live closer to the border, I would probably say, hey, just, come up and meet us and we can make some arrangements. Because to me, this doesn't make sense to slap a tariff on stuff that hasn't been available for 30 plus years and is no longer manufactured and is really just kind of like garage sale items. But, that's my opinion. But we will be listing a bunch of items again for sale. Some of it will end up on eBay. Mostly because that's just, it's rare stuff. And we want to give people an opportunity to pick it up. We will also be trying Facebook Marketplace and a few other locations. And we'll see if we can get this stuff sold off to good homes. So we've got 7 SE30 machines that I'm still working on a few power supplies, but they should be up and running, be fully recapped, fully rebuilt in some cases from PCB up. We've got 7 color classics. Potentially we might be keeping one to turn into a tacky, but we'll see what happens there. And a bunch of other systems. We've got, G3s, G4s, G5s, all kinds of things. So, here's another one. Hopefully, once we get them all sorted and in good state, then we can get them sold off and get them to people that can really appreciate them. Okay, I'm going to take off UK2, which means I'm going to switch my view here. Some are built in Fremont. Okay, well, I hope we've got some of those. It all kind of depends on what it says on the label on the back. Oh, let's see if I can't get this into view. Ooh, almost. There we go. Okay. Don't like where that button is. These take forever to come off. There are so many legs. Still intact. Oh, there we go. Beauty. Okay. That one actually came off easier than the last one. Now, where is your pin 1, friend? Okay, different marker on this one. Seems like every one has had a different marker. Alright. Yes, we have a 2E card, which is actually complete with the original cable, a 2E disk drive. We have set up a SD card loaded with macOS 755, I think, and includes the partitions for Total Replay, Total Replay. So we will either be selling that or possibly looking to trade that for the tacky analog board replacement. That one is a very cool little kit. It was fun to get that set up on my Color Classic once we got the analog board LCD upgrade in place. Let's switch this back. Alright, so we got pin 1 here. You can't see. Pin 1 here. And we got pin 1, the dot. So that should be good. Hello there. Thank you for dropping into the stream. We're just working on a 2CI reloaded board. This is the first one I've done. Boards were provided by Will from KMac for us, so we're really appreciative of that. Hopefully I can get this one up and working. When we first got this particular board, it was only showing a white screen after a recap, and I was not having any luck with diagnosing it, so we kind of made the decision of, you know what, why don't we just make it a reloaded project instead. There we go. So that is what we're working on today. I do not expect to get this board to the point of even a test boot. There are simply just too many chips, and this is my first attempt, so I have no expectations of getting this done in one stream. But we will certainly try and get as far as we can. And we'll eventually have to break for lunch. It's a little after lunchtime here, so it's going to be a late lunch for me, I guess. Is that lined up? Maybe. Let's check the other sides. Alright. Yeah, let's... Oops, of course I nudged it. That does not look great, because that is now far more tilted. So let's move that over. A little bit to the right. A little too far to the right. That's a bit better. I'll have to see if I can find a way to zoom out a little bit more. This is my max zoom out with this new stand, and it doesn't quite get as far out as the old one. Boy. Yeah, I think that's going to be about where it needs to go. Put your finger on it, next thing you know it's in the wrong place. Okay. Got 2 anchors. Let's check this side. That side looks good. Check this side. That side looks good. Check this side. That side looks good. Last side. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. Code to cloud. Welcome to the channel. Trying to get better about actually looking at the chat here while I work. Definitely an art. Okay, these at least are bigger pads. This is a lot easier to do than the finer pitch chips, so hopefully we can get through this a little bit faster than those 3. Okay. I will check these afterwards. This one I'm more confident about. So I won't check every single side one by one. We'll just do a check at the end. Still use a lot of flux. Hopefully you can see some of that. There we go. It's another side. Let's see, what else we got here? This one. Alright, making some progress on this one. Certainly a lot faster than the last one. Partially because you can actually drag solder on this without worrying about ripping up every single pad. Alright, get that a little bit more up so you guys can see it. Yeah, these are such a pleasure to solder compared to the last ones. Alright, let's do a check on this chip, see that everything is connected. So I'm going to move this forward. Someone's messaging me. Let's get back to that later. Alright. Side number 1. Focus if we can. That looks okay. Side number 2. That in focus. That looks okay. Yep. Side number 3. Looks good. The bridges, last one. That looks good. No bridges. Okay. All right, who do we want to take off next? Who we got? Who we got? Switch back. Which one do we want to do? Do we want to do that one? Let's do that one. Getting smaller. So it should come off a little bit faster, hopefully. Bus transceivers. This must be for the new bus, which actually is right here. Oh, there we go. Starting. There we go. Slide it off. It's good to go. So that is UF4. UF4 right there. Okay. How long have we been going? Almost 2 hours. Oh boy. Okay, well, probably going to give this a little bit longer, and then I'm going to shut down and go have lunch. But we'll see how many we can get on before then. We're up to 4 chips installed at the moment. So let's switch back. There we go. This is UF4, UF4, yep. And we got our little chip corner there. So it's going to go up here. And we're going to try and position this so it's actually straight. Seems like there's a nice bit of space between these two at least, so it shouldn't be too bad getting the second one on. Hopefully. So Craig, when are you going to be doing your own stream here for your SE30/SE40 build? Think you'll have time in the next weekend or two? I want that a little bit lower. should get you to change my MacCon PDS to a right angle. Oh, yeah, I could do that at some point. Is that lined up? Kind of. Seems a little bit off. Let's see. Let's change that. That looks decent. This one feels off. Let's see. No, maybe not. Yeah, it's okay. Let's anchor that. Right there. This week. Oh, cool. Looking forward to that. Okay. Our anchor. And then this is a lazy Susan for these boards, they're so big. Okay, let's get this guy attached. Bridge. Hurry up. Bridge is gone. Next side. Orientation's right. Good. I almost forgot to double check that. There we go. Side 2. Number 3. EC30 Ethernet and external video. Oh yeah. That's cool. There we go. Slide number 3. I wonder if I should do this little one next. Since we have left space. Don't really know the order of doing chips on this board since this is my first time, and what makes it easier and what makes it harder. Guess I'll find out. Something you'll just kind of develop a feeling for is if I do X chip first and Y chip second, it'll be easier for me to do versus the other way around. Because that's what I found with the SE30 reloaded boards. Started getting a pattern you'd follow. Alright, let's check this guy. Further out. Okay. See if we can get that in focus. This way. Yep. Looks good, no bridging. Looks good, no bridging. Next. Looks good. Ah. I see. MacCon and Radius need to be on separate addresses. That looks good. Okay. I think we're good with this one. Is that really connected? Let's just double check that guy. Yes, he is. Okay. Just had to double check. Alright, I think I'll do one more chip here and then call it. We will have made at least a bit of progress. Now, let's go with this one. Move my new board out of the way so I don't hit it by accident. Still attached. Yep. He's off. Let's see if we can fix my thing here. Strap's a little loose. There we go. Okay. Hot chip. Alright, let's switch back. It'd be cool to find a 2CI or CX case to put this in. Well, I haven't seen any popping up lately, but we can always keep an eye out. Ultimately, I think hopefully someone will just pick this up because they need a new board because theirs is battery bombed or what have you. Alright. One. It's a nice looking board. They did a good job in recreating it as far as I can see. One thing I will say is it looks like compared to the SE30 they've made these pads pretty nice and big to work with, which is a godsend really. 'Cause some of those pads on the SE30 Reloaded PCBs were a little on the small side. You could work with them, but they were very fiddly. Alright, that looks fine. That looks fine. I think that should be good. Let's anchor another side here. Oops, out of view. Let's do this one. Yep. All right, let's start with you. Oh man, 2 hours flies by in no time. Next. These actually flow pretty well. Okay, next. Nice. Quite a lot of room between these two chips, which is always nice. So much easier to do. Okay. More. We'll check this chip, and then I think I'm going to call it quits here for today. That will be how many? 2, 4, 6 chips that we have on. A lot to go. This is a big board. Very big board compared to the SE30. Took me ages. I had to pull off all the through-hole components because we don't have any spares at the moment, so I need to reuse them. Probably spent a good 5 or 6 hours just pulling off all of those. Use it as an opportunity to practice trying to do it without ripping traces and pads. So it definitely slows you down, but it's also good practice, so can't complain too much. Always loved the 2CI and the Quadra 700, never had either. And now the Quadra 700 is getting to the point where it's almost impossible to get for under $1,000. Alright. The problem with these systems get a little bit famous, all of a sudden they become popular. That's good. Next thing you know, the price is jacked up. Good. Good. Last one. Alright. No bridges that I can see, so we're good. Alright, let's take a look at what we have so far. Oh, thank you. So yeah, we've got, I don't think I can zoom out anymore, but I'll try. Out. There we go. So that's what we have so far. And that is everything we have left. So there is quite a lot left to do. But, you know, I think we made some good progress today. Alright. So I'm going to call it here for the day. Thank you for joining the stream. If you were able, please hit that like and subscribe button. Hopefully we'll have some more content here for you shortly. And yeah, have a good day. Catch you later.